What's going on, everybody? Nick here from Squad. Happy March Madness. A quick shout out to ETSU, SoCon regular season and tournament season champs. Buccaneers are headed to the dance. It's March Madness. Virginia Tech and George Mason up next with their tournaments. But in the meantime, this is your sports sponsorship tip of the week. All right, this week, in the past, first of all, I'm trying to get really nitty gritty with some of the tips that I'm giving out. It's great to be in the clouds. It's great to think overall, kind of how you can attack digital sponsorship and just sponsorship in general. But this week, really in the next couple of weeks, really want to focus on some tactics that are really going to help and are implementable today with some of the things that you all are doing within sponsorship. So the tip of the week this week surrounds around kind of segmentation, what we talked about in the past. If you haven't checked out that episode, definitely go do that. But more so the difference between segmentation and localization. Let me explain here. Segmentation, in my mind, is understanding your customer segments based on certain attributes, location being one of them, but mainly looking at age or certain demographics and being able to serve based on their needs. Localization is a little bit different, and here let me explain. Within localization, we're still using data, we're still grabbing your location, but here's what we're playing off emotionally for you is your hometown, where you live, the familiarity with that, and that's where we're really going to drive some value. So I'll give you a quick example. In a segmentation campaign, we might drive into, hey, you are a hockey fan in the Portland, Oregon area, and you also happen to like soccer or football or whatever that may be. Segmentation is serving them ads of hockey players playing soccer on the ice because of course you like both, so you're going to stop, you're going to watch that ad and then saying, hey, come watch the local hockey team here, and we're playing off something different. Localization, though, can be a lot more powerful, not only for you, but also for your sponsor. So with localization, instead, we would retarget that customer or target that customer with advertising based on their local community. So I'll give you an example here in Portland, Oregon. Clackamas is just down the way within the Portland, Oregon area. Beaverton, where Nike is, and Intel, and a few other in Columbia. That's where some outside places, but those people from different towns still come to some different sports games. So in localization, we would say, hey, Beaverton fans, hockey fans, make sure you're coming out here with a video that's perfect for them, whether it's a player or whatever that may be. Playing off their local pride, playing off their local culture. A video in Beaverton might be totally different and fit totally differently than a video in Clackamas here locally. So that's really hyper localized. Let's say like a team like the Portland Trailblazers, where it's the only basketball team here in town. Localization would be going to each one of those communities, creating content from the sponsor for each one of those individual communities, and then targeting each one of those communities. So again, Seaside on the coast, go out east to Pendleton, go down south to Medford, really having the message be localized with local goals from our sponsor to that fan so they're more likely to interact. Here's why it's so important, I think, in sponsorship sometimes, and I talked about this with segmentation, we do blanket coverage. And that's a huge problem. Blanket coverage is much easier to sort of just sort of not notice and look over with advertising. If you really wanted to get me on an ad, I'm from the Bay Area, I'm a Raiders fan, I'm an A's fan, I'm a Warriors fan. If you wanted to get me to stop, you would put some sort of localized thing there on ads to me. Or in Portland, I haven't found a Raiders bar here in Portland, but if you were able to target that localization of saying, hey, we're looking for people from the Bay Area here in Portland, still localization, still understanding that localized attribute and playing to my emotions here to grab my attention. we're playing off your pride in your hometown, where you live, as the way to get you to engage and stop. And then the offer also has to be localized. Don't tell people, I'll give an example with a car dealership. Don't tell people, hey, Seaside fans, make sure you're heading out to Portland, car dealership of Portland. Make sure you're localizing it to the local dealership. Is going to build a lot more value. So with that segmentation, we should be segmenting based on certain data attributes, but a more powerful piece there is going to be localization. How can you get the surrounding communities if you're in a smaller area? Well, first let's start with, you should be doing your city area first, the suburbs, and doing a campaign based on that. But then if you're lucky enough to be the only sports team within a state, or even surrounding states, right? I'm thinking of Oklahoma City with some of the surrounding states. I'm thinking about Kansas City with Missouri and Kansas kind of in that mix. But how can you localize the message from your sponsor to that local community? Cut that up, make individual videos with it, send that out. Make those campaigns so that people can actually take action within that city instead of just blanket coveraging it. So segmentation based on data attributes, but doesn't play on your hometown pride. Localization, this attribute may be outside of your city, but you're getting localized attention to it. I'll give a great example. Actually, just popped into my head. Localization. Baron Davis kind of sucked right when he left the Warriors to go to the Clippers. He was a Powerade athlete. Localization of that back then was a highway billboard ad on the way to the stadium in Oakland off 880. That was Baron Davis dunking with Powerade. That's localization. That's playing into my local pride for my local team, right? So your brands can do it very well with athletes. They can do it very well with you as well. It could even get larger sort of on that side with some of the digital things we have. So don't forget to localize some of your messaging as you're segmenting stuff, and really focus on that sort of that pride that somebody has for their hometown, and even a notice for their hometown. Imagine if, this is the beautiful thing about social. Imagine if you had a local town that was only 1,500 people, but you sent them ads that said, hey, Brownsville, our team loves you. We love your fans. We love that you're fans. We love your community. We're going to be in town on this date, or go to this localized landing page to get your tickets or your free thing from this sponsor. The emotion that's going to bring to somebody from Brownsville, where a lot of people have overlooked them, is going to be really, really great. So localize your messaging, localize your sponsorship branding. It's really easy to do today with digital, but don't forget to really play off that emotional piece of, I'm proud of where I'm from, and you see me as a part of your overall community within this fan base, and then tie a sponsor to that so that they can build on that goodwill and that fandom. So localize your message. That's the tip of the week this week. Again, we're getting nitty gritty. I got another great one for you next week that's going to be really nitty gritty. Keep pushing those limits within sports sponsorship. Have a great March Madness coming up, and keep grinding, keep getting those sales, and keep rocking within sponsorship.